morning mga katribu. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk. I am Confi Manalo. Today we will be discussing about open finance. What is open finance and how will it impact the way we live? In simple terms, open finance is the next step in open banking journey. With open finance, financial data such as mortgages, savings, pensions, insurance, and consumer credit, basically everything that will provide you your financial footprint, could be opened up to trusted third-party APIs, if you agree only. Open banking already allows regulated websites and apps to access transactions, data from bank accounts, and payment services so that we can move, manage, and make more of your money. In traditional banking services, assets and liabilities determine creditworthiness. In this instance, open banking is great for verifying checking account balance, balance history, account tenure, and deposits. The same can be said for credit cards. Where open banking falls short is with things like auto loans, mortgages, and other finance-related products. With open finance, all the financial services data that you permission would be securely delivered to the mortgage lender with your consent via an API. So how will open finance help marginalized communities like the MSMEs, the SMEs? So open banking only works when someone is actively using their account with the bank. The ability to securely provision access to utility providers, telecom companies, and payroll providers to verify payment history, employment, and pay is crucial to securing access to housing funds and affordable credit. Today, a person with no active bank accounts would be considered outside the financial system and therefore would struggle to access these options. Open finance eliminates these issues further. The ability to access payment history with prior landlords would allow for more efficient, transparent, and equitable rental decisions. To learn more about open finance and how will it directly impact the way we conduct business and our daily lives, we are honored to have Ms. Ida Chongson, the Chairman of the Board of ProLife UK, to discuss more about open finance. Welcome to Daily Tribune's Straight Talk, Ms. Ida.
Thank you, Confi. It's a pleasure to be here. And incidentally, one of the hats that I'm wearing, I'm also with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Open Finance Oversight Committee. So this is actually my world now, which is into the open finance.
This is actually your field of expertise now.
Yes.
And then thank you very much for having us, for joining us today. Thank you very much for taking your time to be with us today. So let's fire up the question. I've already made a short description of open finance, but of course, being the expert and being with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and about open finance. So, what is open finance, and is this the evolution in banking?
Okay. Well, in general, open finance is giving authority or access to your financial banking services, not just banking, but anything to do with the finance. In fact, if I may, I actually have a slide on this, and there's a quotation about what it is per Bangko Sentral. And there are 2 points that I want to raise. One is it does empower customers by giving them better control over the personal and financial data, catalyzing the development of products and services that are responsive to their needs. I know it's kind of highfalutin. I will explain that in a minute. And the other point under the BSP circular is open finance framework espouses consent-driven data portability and interoperability and collaborative partnerships among financial institutions, leveraging on permissioned access customer information. Again, sounds highfalutin. Thank you for this particular slide. This man, I'm going to call him Juan. What has he got to do with open finance? When sinabing consent-driven, for argument's sake, he has a record with GCash, and he has constantly been using GCash. He would now be able to give consent to PNB, to OF Bank, to Alliance, and ProLife for that matter, to provide them his financial information and therefore be able to have a good credit score that would qualify. In short, record from one institution can be used by another institution to complete his credit score and knowing his financial capability. And that is a world-changing phase of the future of finance is where we're going into.
Yeah, actually, I have two issues there. One, um, the credit history or financial history, or financial or digital footprint. Because traditionally, if you're like the man that you mentioned, Juan, that we use as an example, he doesn't have any bank account, but he uses e-wallets regularly. So he in using those e-wallets, he's able to establish some digital footprint, but he has no digital records or financial records to establish financial institutions like banks. So that prevents him from accessing financial windows, right?
Yeah, that's actually the point. Yes.
And then the second issue that I have is the data privacy. So we know that data is the most valuable commodity now. Everybody is and we provide data almost every day. Like
Yes.
when we open social media, we fill up forms. Those are datas that are now being used by the scammers. So how do you reconcile data privacy with providing
Yeah.
data or access to your data to third-party services through open finance? And of course, how will that benefit Juan
Yes.
to gain financial access to traditional financial institutions?
Yes. I'm excited to answer that question. It's actually the heart of all of this when we're talking about the data privacy and all of this interconnection and the use of the data. May I have that slide back again with Juan? Today, Juan, can I have a slide without yeah, that one. Juan, a farmer, and this is reality of it,
Yeah.
would find that he will get a check kasi someone will purchase his produce, yung kanyang, for argument's sake, rice, and that check, and this is reality, no? He will walk 2 hours to go to a bank. And from that, he gets cash because he doesn't have a bank account. And from there, he looks physically for another supplier or try to haggle. And with that, still, Juan does not have a bank account. So back to your question. It's okay to drop that slide. So back to your question. What's it to do with Juan? What about the data privacy? Back to Juan. One, to date, as long as you have one identification, one government-issued ID, you can now open a bank account or a wallet. We'll pause for the credit scoring at the moment. And with having that wallet, GCash, Paymaya, it could be any of the digital
Yeah.
banks. And by the way, with the banks, pwede ng one identification. First problem, identification. How can Juan open an account? And this is where the advent of the national ID is helping out. Eventually, with the national ID, when that evolves, kasi some of our kababayan, they don't even have birth certificate, we'll tackle that EKYC problem at that particular time. But assuming he's able to open, and I would say the easiest would be the Paymaya and GCash. Able to open, able to transact, able to send money, but of course it's limited at this point, 50,000 per day. If one will get a couple of 100,000 in his GCash and able to continuously transacting, nagkakaroon na yun ng record, behavioral record. Further, if one pays his bills using his digital wallet, he's able to now create a record. Now, what's that got to do with open finance? Eventually, under the open finance, all of this will be interconnected, and one's record with one institution can be opened up by another institution by his consent. Yung consent niya could be limited consent. It could be, hey, I'm only giving my personal data. Or it could be an extensive consent. I want to give everything, including my record, how I'm paying, and if he's able to pay his loans or on time and his bills within a certain period of time, he's able to get a good credit score. And so where's data privacy? According to the data privacy, you cannot just, one institution cannot just extract, especially sensitive data. And this is where who holds the data. They hold the data, but it's my data. It's Juan's data. So si Juan ang magsasabi will now give permission to have his data used by another institution. And therefore, Juan, even without having a bank account or zero record, whether it's insurance, whether it's bank, he would now be able to advise that institution that, you know, this is my data. Will you provide your products and services to me? And they will assess that. That's the beauty of it.
So this, because of open finance, the control or the management of the data remains or stays with the with one.
Exactly.
And you mentioned this benefits of open finance, that it allows ordinary Juan to have financial access, financial window. So how will this impact
Yeah.
his life as an ordinary person, and how will this impact Juan to upscale his
Nice.
operation
Okay.
or become a landlord or a entrepreneur?
Okay. First, I wanna cite an example, no, and this is a live example. I have two assistants. One wants to get paid cash. The other one allowed to have yung pay niya paid to her account. I'm actually talking about Yaya. So, and just to advise you that it can expand further into whatever kind of walks of life. So, one in cash, one into an account. That one into an account, and this is a sample of it. The one that's getting cash, nag-ipon, bought a cell phone. The other one that opened a wallet, within 6 months got a credit card. Within less than a couple of years, was able to borrow 400,000, was able to purchase a land for the family, and they're now doing small-scale farming. Can you imagine? So what's that got to do with Juan? Si Juan, ang dami nating, 70%, and now actually reduced about 65% of the Filipinos, no bank accounts.
Yeah.
And the main problem when you're trying to scale up is you don't have enough money. So how can you borrow when you don't have a credit score? And the banks will be looking for it, financial institutions. And this is where I'm advising absolutely everyone, whether it's a digital bank or a digital wallet, GCash, Paymaya, open yun na and do transact, because you can now slowly build record, and that record is very important. If you continuous, and this is a live example, if you continuously using the GCash kahit na maliit yung balance mo doon, you'd be able to actually get a small loan, just like that, with less than a couple of minutes. They credit it to you.
So I want to expound on the use case that you mentioned.
Yes.
Sa Yaya, the one who opted to receive her payment through GCash.
Yes.
So I'm sure tinulungan mo yun kung paano i-manage yung kanyang pera.
Let me
Ano yung
pause.
ginawa? Ano yung ginawa?
That was 3 years ago. Hindi pa masyadong usong GCash din. The other Yaya only opted to open a wallet only June of last year, but already getting good credit record. So getting back to your question.
How was he able to get such a good credit score?
Yeah.
And secure a 400,000 peso loan.
Imagine that. Okay. Well, first is continuously all the pay I credit to her account. And she made that, parang she started doing paperless transaction, paper light transaction by all her bills. Kahit na yung pang-skwela, pang-electricity niya sa bahay nila, and she was actually doing that. And if she gets bonus, she gets it credited there. Whatever ipon she has. So she puts everything there that iba na ngayon ang credit score. The credit score is now behavioral. It's a combination of behavioral and at the same time how in a typical credit score, it's how long have you been employed, kung may bahay ka, Have you had a loan before? Do you have deposits? Do you have collateral? Those are the typical credit score. Now, the credit score has shifted in the fintech world dramatically into behavioral. Are you actually paying your bills on time? Are you savings? Are you paying your loans on time? See, what she did is borrowed a small loan and paid it out. Tumaas ngayon ang credit score niya. Paying the bills on time, tumaas na naman ang credit score niya. And getting a credit card and using the credit card properly, taas na naman ang score niya. With that score, able to get even a bigger loan. And this is, mind you, collateral free. So for Juan, if able to build that, may 200,000 si Juan. So if you're able to actually keep banking that in, I will not be surprised that Juan would be able to get $1 million in terms of financial loan with the institution that